Assalamu alaikum ji. Welcome everyone to another session hosted by ICF members of Pakistan. And today I am very excited to have Aisha with us. Aisha is a seasoned psychology professional with over 2 decades of experience. She began her journey while completing her master's in psychology, raising two children, and working part time, an experience that shaped her deep belief in growth through challenge. And now she combines psychological expertise with coaching to offer compassionate, evidence based, and holistic support that support individuals creating last personal and professional transformation. I'm very excited to introduce her topic briefly, that is understanding the Gestalt cycle of awareness. And this is a very helpful topic for us coaches to understand that how get Gestalt work for our clients and how we can create more awareness through it. And at any time in this session, if participants have any question, you can drop it in the chat and we will have a Q&A session towards the end of the session as well. So Aisha, a very warm welcome to you, and I would like to hand over the stage to you.
इसे
You are
अनम्यूट
muted.
कर ले, अनम्यूट कर
Unmute. Yes.
Sorry. Thank you everyone for being here. Lovely to see you all. Before I start my presentation, I would like to invite you to come in for a couple of minutes. Perhaps ground yourself, eyes. You can put your during this time, you can leave it on, whatever you are comfortable with. So if we can just do a bit of a grounding exercise, close our eyes, see where we are situated, come into the present, and take a few breaths. So perhaps 4 breaths in and 4 breaths out. And as we are breathing, I would like you to notice what sensations are coming in your body. Is there a tenseness that you feel in any part of your body? A stretch, a discomfort? And even if you are not feeling any part of your body going through any tenseness or stretchness or a pain or butterflies, just like you to keep this moment to ground yourself. And if you are feeling something in your body, be aware of what that needs from you right now. Does it need to be massaged or just pressed? Does it need to be breathed into or held? Notice what it needs at this point. As you feel those sensations and you become aware of the sensations in your body, I'd like to invite you to come back into the session when you are ready. Maybe you can give a thumbs up, the ones whose videos are off, to let us know if you are back in session. So would anybody like to share how that was for them? You can just share by saying, now I am aware of. Did any awareness come up for you? What was that like for you? You can put it in the chat box. You can say it out, whatever's good for you. So would anybody like to share?
We have a comment from Hina in the chat, and I'll read it out for you. She says, I think it was relieving, and now I am aware of being that there was a knot or a tightness present.
Okay, great. And I hope you were able to give that knot or tightness some sort of a need that was there, Hina. Anybody else?
I would like to hear on camera here, and it was a very, I would say, great experience because it led me to see some of the challenges that I was unconsciously overlooking. And they were there, and this exercise allowed me to become aware of that, and how I have the power over those challenges that I see bigger than they are.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Ali. One more, if anybody's interested, would like to share.
If excitement can be called also attention, excitement and anticipation of listening to you and learning more.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. I am now going to share my presentation with you. Here we go. And I hope everybody is able to see that clearly.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about the Gestalt Cycle of Awareness. It's also called the Gestalt Cycle of Experience. It is sometimes, called the complete cycle or the unfinished cycle. And the cycle itself starts from to satisfaction. Just give me a second. Oh, here we are. So the premise, let's say, in terms of Gestalt, is that the individual is responsible for themselves. Gestalt is a lot about being and not so much about doing. It is coming into a sense of awareness of what kind of patterns are coming up in our lives and perhaps in our clients' lives, and to become more and more aware of those patterns. And it's not like a checklist or tools or techniques that a practitioner uses, but more of what is happening in the here and now between the client and the practitioner. Don't know why my slide. Okay, there we go. So what is the meaning making of Gestalt? It talks about the relationship as a human-to-human connection. It's an I-you relationship versus an I-it relationship, where the other person is not seen as an object or a label, but more as a human. So let's say in practice, client or an individual will come in saying, I'm lazy, or I have ADHD, or I'm on the autism spectrum. And so looking away from the labels, looking at them away from the objects that perhaps, or labels that they identify themselves with, but looking at them more as humans and the experiences that they have had as human beings. each individual is an integrated whole, and the premise of Gestalt is to look at all the parts of that individual and see how they can be integrated as a whole. It's a concept or a theory that looks at the innate potential of growth for each individual, and it looks at the here and now. What's happening in the here and now? What kind of blocks are coming in the here and now? And where are these blocks coming? It's more about how we feel in the moment, in the here and now, and instead of why we feel it. It's understanding the world and environment, because we are social beings. For us to live in isolation, able to live in isolation, so how are we interconnected and interdependent beings? And being able to make effective contact, which I will go into in a bit when we're looking at the cycle, and really looking at how our bodies feel in different contact experiences that we go through over and over again, multiple times during the day. So I'm not, in terms of Gestalt, you may know about the figure and ground. And the figure is what is emerging for us at the moment. And so let's say I'm giving this presentation. The figure for me is this presentation, and everything else in the ground, which could be the noises, anything else I have to do during the day, that all becomes the ground. So in our day-to-day experiences, there is always a figure that emerges, and the rest of the things go into the ground. So even in the Gestalt cycle, these figures keep emerging over and over again. So after I'm done with this presentation, there'll be another figure, that'll emerge in my day, and the other things may go into the ground. So before we go here, Ali, I just want to tell you that I can't see anything. So if there's anything in the chat box, please sort of interject and let me know if somebody has a comment. Yeah, because I can't see anything of the Zoom here. Thank you. So this is the cycle of experience, or the cycle of awareness. And what Gestalt says, what happens in this is that we all keep going through these cycles. But what happens sometimes in these cycles is that it's an unfinished cycle, or the cycle does not complete with satisfaction. And when that happens, there is dis-ease. What they talk about is that this is an organismic cycle. And if the cycle does not, finish in or complete in a satisfactory way, then dis-ease happens within the organism. And there are various disruptions that happen. So for example, I'm just going to quickly take you with a little example of what this cycle would be. So let's say we're fasting, and we have different sensations coming in our body. Roza rakha hai, and let ke 4, 4:30, 5 baje we realize कि okay, there is a sensation. Iftar time is coming. This is what I'm feeling in my body, whether it's fuzziness or I really want that caffeine. And so we start recognizing that sensation that comes in our body. There's an awareness of it. We're aware. We're not kind of saying कि नहीं ये तो नहीं हो रहा. We're not deflecting it, and this awareness is coming. So let's say about 5 o'clock or so, we start mobilizing. We start looking at options. कि इफ्तार के लिए, what do we want to have today? Maybe we ask the children, तुम लोगों को क्या खाना है? Should we go and pick this up? maybe we've already prepared. So we've mobilized into action, into options that we are looking at for iftar, and then we act on it, and we start, cooking or putting things together. And at the time of, iftar, we make contact with it. So maybe we sit on a table and we're present, and the intention is there. And so we make contact with it and we have our iftar. There is a period of satisfaction now. We've had a chai pi liye, caffeine is in the body, food is in the body. And then there is a moment to sort of step away from it, enjoy it, and give our body that rest or the space that we need.
We have a comment from Hina, and she has also raised her hand. Put it in the message that are the feelings figure or ground, or is it the events surrounding the feelings?
So, Hina, thank you. So the feelings change all the time. What the cue is our body. What kind of sensation is coming in our body? So sensations are happening all the time, and we need to bring what is happening. So let's say hunger is a sensation. We need to bring that into awareness. So every we go through multiple Gestalt cycles. Sleep is another sensation. So we pick up on those sensations that are in our body and we become aware of it. So I hope that answers your question. So what happens in terms of the disruptions in the Gestalt cycle, maybe within ourselves and maybe within with our clients? And so the thing is that we're looking at, we go through these feelings and these sensations, but there are patterns that we need to pick up on. शायद relationships एक pattern हो जहाँ पर ये disruption आता है. So it doesn't mean that the disruptions happen in everything that we do. It looks at disruptions that happen frequently that result in dis-ease for the client. So sensation, for example, a disruption of that is desensitization, where either the sensation is ignored or the sensation is blocked in the body. This happens when an individual has gone through trauma or abuse. Abuse results in desensitization of the body. The person is unable to pick up what is happening in their body and ignores what is happening in their body. Let's look at food, for example, or things like eating. A person may not that they are hungry, or they may not know when to stop eating. So what is your body telling you, telling the individual, and is the individual able to connect with their body and understand that sensation? Okay. The next disruption happens at the place of deflection, at the place of awareness. Deflection is disregarding or minimizing our own needs. So we say कि अच्छा ठीक है, ये मेरे साथ हो रहा है, मगर I think the other person needs something else, which is greater than what I need right now. So we deflect our own needs, or we minimize our own needs. So I need to, I need to feed my child before I will feed myself. Or I always need to feed my child before I feed myself. In mobilization, introjections come in. Introjections are something in terms of transactional analysis also, where we internalize the critical voices of the past. Introjection are the shoulds that we do in our life. So I should be doing this. This is the right way to do this. So the parental voice comes in at the time of mobilization. तो ये इतने सारे options या ये चीजें हैं जो आप in terms of mobilization stage you look at. But what is the should of it that you need to do? That comes in terms of interjections at the mobilization stage. Then there is action. What happens when we are taking action? Projections come in where we disown parts of ourselves and we project it onto others. So, giving you an example of projection, let's say a recent client example of projection. The client, the employer sent an email to the client. The client wrote the email and wrote it in a way that, she felt it was how she wanted to write it. She looked at options on how to communicate this back. And she then started, so she sent the email and she then started comparing it. So I wrote it this way, but the other person would have written it another way. And I think, person B would have written it this way. Hence, they could have been, that was a better way to write it. So they projected their own self-doubt and their own insecurity in terms of how they wrote that email or message to another person. So projection, so their own insecurities got muddled up and that disruption happened in action. In the same example, retroflexion, so they were not able to come into a satisfactory contact with the environment or the gestalt that took place. So what they did was they started criticizing themselves. Retroflexion is when you move it inwards and you start blaming yourself or you start criticizing yourself. I am not good enough. Did I write that email the right way? I always do this. It's not going to get me promoted because I didn't, somebody else could have done it differently and in a better way. And I didn't write it the right way. So that internal critic becomes really, really strong in retroflexion. You're angry at your boss in terms of the way that your boss may have treated you, but you start berating yourself. कि मैंने ये सही नहीं किया, I didn't do this the right way. And hence the victimization of it in terms of retroflexion comes from within. And the last two parts of the disruption of the cycle is at the time of satisfaction, where the individual disconnects from themselves and becomes an observer, let's say, from above. That's where, so when the individual disconnects from self and becomes an observer, again, they try and see, let me see this environment. Could this have been done differently? How come I am not feeling completely satisfied with what has happened in how I have responded? How my contact has been. And lastly is confluence. Confluence is the inability to let go, or it is the inability to rest. And that happens when so an event has happened, but we're unable to let go of how it has happened. A conversation has happened with an individual, but we go back to, was I okay in that conversation when we're looking at it from an observer point of view? Or retroflecting on it, like, I should not have said that. So the introjects come in, or my tone wasn't right in that. or I could have really used it. I could have said that in a different way. I wonder, in terms of projection, I wonder what they thought of me when I said it like that. So projection also comes where you mind read about another person. And when you're thinking, "Ki, acha, I wonder how they thought about it when I was saying this." So you disconnect from self and you mind read about the other person. So in terms of confluence, the cycle is not completed in a satisfactory way, or the withdrawal is not completed in a satisfactory way because the person is unable to let go based on perhaps what happened in the past. The other way that confluence comes in terms of withdrawal, is the person is unable to rest. So there are individuals who must go from one project or doing one thing. So doing, so there'll be, and each be completed, but the list may not be completed in a complete in a satisfactory way. They're unable to just sit and pause and say, okay, theek hai, this cycle was completed for me in a good way. So in terms of withdrawal, confluence is when I'm unable to let go because of things that how this cycle played out for us, or confluence is not really savoring the cycle that happened, and not savoring the rest period that an individual needs, but quickly going from one activity to another activity to a third activity without really feeling that um, satisfaction. So I am going to pause here and ask if what does anybody need more explanation, questions on any of these stages of Gestalt? Hina has asked, what if the retroflexion? Sorry, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Aisha. First, she asked that she needs an example that helps to put it together. And
Okay.
then she have a follow-up question as well about what if the retroflexion or criticism is a valid criticism.
Okay. So so an example, let me think of a normal example to put it together. Let's talk about me. And so I'm giving this presentation. I can sense some kind of a rapid heartbeat. Okay, maybe I'm like a little nervous, and I will kind of acknowledge that awareness that I may be a little nervous about this. Even let's say before the presentation, and I was speaking to Umar, and Umar had messaged, I think you should do a presentation on the 27th. And I think I didn't have an option for it. So, but it was good that I got pushed into it. So I looked at options, let's say. There was a bit of sensation, and an awareness of nervousness. And I looked at options in terms of what I want to talk about, how I want to talk about it. So the mobilization of it came in. No shoulds, let's say, came in for me at that point, but there was a let's say an introjection in terms of my own thing, that it needs to be really good, or what is going to be a good presentation. So in terms of mobilization, that came in. So then I started reading, and the action was to start making this presentation. Now, how would projection have come in if I am sitting here and thinking, and I'm delivering this, this presentation at this point? I can be sitting there and thinking, I wonder what Ali is thinking about my presentation. I wonder what the rest of the group is thinking about my presentation. And that would result in me not being completely present and in contact with what I am doing right now. Retroflexion could come in by criticizing myself, whether I am doing it right now or whether I do it when this is over. And I start saying, oh, why did you have to make, why did this tone come up? Your facial expressions don't look really good right now. Could you have delivered it in a more professional manner? So that inner critic will come in and spoil this Gestalt cycle that I am going through. Then I can go into the satisfaction phase, which may be, at the time when this is over. And I disconnect from myself and I look at all the comments or things that come up and how I take that as a part of who I am, or whether I take that as a learning experience from the feedback that others have given. And lastly, confluence. Am I able to, be satisfied and withdraw from this and let go? Or am I going to keep thinking about this for the rest of the day or the weeks to come and think about how could it have been better? What else could I have done? So is it going to be a period of rest that once this cycle has finished for me? Or am I going to hold on to something which may not be good enough feeling inside of me, or an inability to just kind of let go of this cycle? How do I want to make this Gestalt cycle for myself complete and rest and acknowledge and pause? So I hope that example helps.
Yeah, it does. He acknowledged that. So let's move forward, I think.
Okay, great. So what is a complete, what's the difference between a complete cycle and an incomplete cycle? Number one is the energy. So as organisms, as human beings, we always need energy to keep moving from one thing to another thing, from one figure to the other figure that keeps emerging for us. So if it is a complete cycle, the energy rises, it peaks, and then it settles, after the withdrawal phase. In an incomplete cycle, we remain stuck. People undergoing with anxiety remain stuck. Depressive energy remains stuck. What happens with emotions? There's a satisfaction, a sense of gratitude, and accomplishment that may come in with a complete cycle. What happens when it's an incomplete cycle? That may be regret, there may be irritation. Physically, we may feel relaxed and grounded. In an incomplete cycle, we may feel restless and agitated. Mentally, there is a clearness or a quietness that comes about. But in an incomplete cycle, the questions are always sort of there, the doubts are there, the chatter of the thoughts keep emerging and re-emerging. In terms of the self, there is a sense of being complete, in terms or a sense of being unfinished. And for the future things that we want to do, the energy comes back to do the next thing. But if it is an incomplete cycle in any way, the old energy remains. The old energy gets it filters into, or it bleeds into the next experience that the person may be having. So all of this, kind of comes in terms of the presence or the contact, the full contact that an individual has with their environment gets disrupted for the cycle, let's say. Because if you are carrying on an unfinished cycle, those thoughts remain, that energy remains, the restlessness remains. So when you are going into the next contact of your cycle, it may bleed into that experience as well. Any questions till now? Let me check.
Not so far. Let's move forward,
Okay.
and we can get more questions towards the end as well.
Yeah. So this is actually my last slide. And then we have about 10 or 15 minutes. So I see client work as a puzzle. And how do we sort of put pieces of the puzzle together? And so how does a client come in the different sort of stages of the cycle of Gestalt? How does the client come together into wholeness, into ease, into completion? The first sort of step is to understand their senses. How are they feeling the sensations in the body, whether or not they are able to pick up senses in their body. From my experience, individuals who go through anxiety maybe find it difficult to pick up what kind of sensations are happening in their body. Or they may be only able to pick up the anxious sensations. So when their gut starts acting up, so the mind gut connection is really important. And a lot of people with anxiety come in with gut issues. So what is happening in their gut? Are they able to pick up the sensations in their gut? What is the gut trying to tell them? So in terms of, if you feel that your client is unable to pick up on sensations, how are we going to help them use the five senses? So there are various kind of tools and techniques that are there in terms of identifying the five senses. You know, taking any object like a fruit, how does it smell? What's the texture that they're feeling? So it's really you know, when you put that orange in your mouth, how are you feeling? What does that feel like? So having the clients get in touch with their own sensations and the five senses that we have. Sometimes just having them sit outside in the sun and pause and see what the sunlight is feeling, how is their body feeling warmer? What does their body need right now? So the sort of initial exercise that I did was for you to touch base with your senses, to do a body scan and see which part needs a bit more awareness, which part needs a little bit more holding. And so that the body scan is a way uh, to get in touch with what's going on and see what part of your body needs something. Another sort of you know, important way to work with the Gestalt cycle is to see what's happening non-verbally with the clients and what is the language that they are using, or perhaps what non-verbally happens with us and what language do we use for ourselves. So is it a punitive language in certain parts? Are they using a lot of labeling words? You know, I'm so lazy, I procrastinate all the time. um, you know, and so I'm not good enough. So there's some like not good enough language that emerges with some clients, which becomes the decision whether that happens at the time of action where they project, or whether it happens at the time of mobilization, where there is a decision paralysis that happens at the time of mobilization. So you know, all of these options are there, yet they are unable to choose which is the one that connects with them best. So interjections happen, but you know, I should be doing this. Yeah, this looks like a good idea, but actually I should be doing this. So see the language that the client is using. Sometimes at the mobilization phase, you can actually see the anxiety happening for the client as well, where, you know, they're so unsure. Their sense of self or their sense of self-confidence really, you know, you can see that happening, that they might, or they might you know, just be anxious. This anxious energy emerges at the time of mobilization because they're stuck between mobilization and action. They don't know which option to choose or how to choose it, or whether or not they're actually ready to take to make that change in their lives. So, you know, creating that awareness in terms of the patterns or the introjects or the projections that happen in our lives and also in our clients' lives, that, you know, I see or I sense that this keeps happening at this time. This keeps happening at the time of mobilization. Or, you know, I see that this critical voice keeps emerging every time you take an action. You seem to kind of, you know, internally criticize yourself or compare or think, oh, I wonder how that other person take this. What would it be like to sort of pause here and see, and be okay with the decision that you have taken. So in the so Gestalt, I find fascinating because it's not about you know, a checklist of things that the individual needs to do, but it really works on a more of a psychodynamic level with an individual. So using visualization, using imagery, speaking to perhaps that anger which is there. So I wonder what this anger is telling you. Or you know, I wonder what this fear looks like in you at the time. At the place of mobilization, a lot of fear comes in. So I wonder what this fear looks like for you. Is there a color to this fear? Do you feel it somewhere in your body? You know, individuals who haven't been able to voice out, haven't been the opportunity to have a voice. Sometimes they're you know, they feel that constriction, let's say, in their throat, or they have butterflies in their stomach. So I wonder where this fear is playing out in your body. What do you think it needs right now in the here and now? You know, it also connects. Gestalt also connects beautifully to IFS and parts work, and there are these IFS cards that look at, you know, different parts of how the client may be unable to kind of verbalize it, but if you use different cards with them, they will be able to say, okay, this is the energy I'm feeling, or this is the part of me that emerges at this point in time. So kind of taking them, so you don't need to kind of show them this cycle, but you can be aware of where in this cycle you feel the client, where the disturbance is happening the most for the client, and see what's happening with the language, see what's happening with their nonverbal communication. Is it projections or interjects? What kind of tools can be used for the client to break from this? um, and um, and then at the end of the day, the goal is for the client to have agency, for the client to trust themselves, to have that self belief, to be responsible, to move towards growth. And um, and so yes, that's sort of coming to the awareness, coming to the completion, getting the energy to move forward. Thank you. I'm going to stop here.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for enlightening us with this great topic and giving us a tool for creating awareness with our clients. I would open the floor for the questions.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, please ask me questions, or even if there are reflections that you have for yourself. Do you feel that there is some place where you may be getting stuck? If you would like to share some of that.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for this. Before I ask my question, just a little clarification. Aisha referred again and again for the word client, and those who are new to this coaching and to our sessions, as a client, we refer to our coachee, the one whom we are coaching regularly. So, just a quick question, Aisha. I mean, this is the Gestalt cycle that you have referred to. Is how would you suggest that we as individuals, giving the limitations of time and given the fast cycle that we are already in our daily life, how would you suggest that we should be using it in our daily life or perhaps in a weekly life?
You know, so sometimes I feel, we keep learning them, but when you come back to spirituality, it's about the intention, right? So what is our intention going in? There is everything we have been taught in terms of our religion and spirituality is based on intention. जब हम नमाज पढ़ते हैं तो intention आती है, रोजा रखते हैं तो हम there is an intention, that a niyat that comes in. So when we are going from one cycle to the other, what is our niyat? What is our intention? And yes, but for each one, are we doing it consciously? Or is it just a part of our unconscious that keeps happening and the patterns keep replaying? So Gestalt is really about what needs to come into the awareness of for our clients. What is our niyat? Are we doing this with a conscious effort? How are we making? So if we're doing something, if we're sitting here, are we going to be on our phone? Or is our intention to be present? So maybe you have an so is our intention going to be fully present for this 1 hour, let's? So I have a question, Umar, because when coaches or let's say clients come in, are they doing it unconsciously, or is there a conscious intention that is that is there in terms of how they are going from one place to another?
Mhm. And that is one of the core competencies of ICF also, is being present at the moment. Perhaps that's basically one referred to also. Ji.
Aisha, I have a question.
Ji, Bhakti.
All this is very useful, and I think really it should be the starting point to what we do as coaches. I'm mostly doing executive coaching, so the people I coach are capable people, very busy people, going places and so on. But I think that essentially, before I start coaching them, I need to make sure that they are there, they are aware, and they can sense, they can feel. And this is what I understand from, Gestalt cycle. How do you relate it to coaching?
Bakhtiar Saab, I try and identify the patterns.
Yeah.
कि ये जो पैटर्न इमर्ज हो रहा है, ये किस जगह पर इमर्ज हो रहा है, एक्शन पर हो रहा है या एक्शन पर हो रहा है. अगर if the client is a lot of times the sensation comes in, the awareness also there, mobilization bhi ho jata hai. But at the time of action, they get stuck. Either it is their own fear of change or of taking that action. Either it's their own shoulds ke aise hona chahiye. Either it's a sense of perfectionism or what they call decision paralysis, or coming up with so many options. Sometimes you keep coming up with options मगर आप फिर वो decision नहीं लेते हैं. So it's really looking at patterns कि ये pattern कहाँ पर emerge हो रहा है, and then bringing that into the client's awareness.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is that at every stage of, we also have a coaching, not a cycle, but a system that we have. And at every stage of that process, all this can be very useful to integrate with our coaching. Okay. Thank you.
Keeping the time in view, let's take one more question.
I think, is there anything in the chat? I think Hina has asked, can we use Gestalt Cycle of Awareness with medicated clients or like those in inpatient? Hina, it really depends in terms of at least my experience with working with medicated clients. It depends on what I call ego state, which is how present are they to receive information. So sometimes, heavily medicated clients or clients going who are perhaps suffering from severe mental disorders, this may not work for them because they may not be able to receive the information, or they may not even be in a place of going through that awareness cycle. So it depends on how they are.
What I get,
if you allow me, I want to ask a question. Ali?
yes. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Aisha, indeed, it is a very insightful and full of self-awareness session. So my question to you is that how this Gestalt cycle of awareness helps us to live in the present moment, because what happens that and I am sharing with you my experience that, and it happens with most of the human beings as well, that we use the present moment as a bridge for the next moment, and we are always searching for the next moment and do not invest in the process but more hooked up with the outcomes. So how can we tackle this built-in feature of human mind which always asks us to skip the present moment and go to the next moment?
Yeah, thank you for that, Atif. Where we always have something or the other, right? There's always another thing that we need to go to. I think it's really putting in a conscious effort to pause. And that perhaps that's what needs to be built within us. Yes, we have several things to do, but how are we going to close that cycle for ourselves? How are we going to pause? And gratitude is a huge thing, where we pause and we look at, okay, that was good. I'm going to savor this. And it doesn't need to be that you take a lot of time to do it. You can do it at the end of the day. And you can pause and say, Acha, theek hai, this I am grateful for this, or this went really well. But doing that pause, just taking a moment, and then maybe closing that part and moving to the next one. So it's really very simple things. But to consciously do that pause, to consciously acknowledge, to consciously close the cycle, and then energetically move to the next thing.
Thank you.
Mariam,
Thank
how
you,
can I
Aisha.
just,
Yes.
can I do one more before we'll just close?
Yes, we have two
Oh, we have
questions in the
two.
chat.
I'll just quickly, how can the Gestalt support someone with unresolved trauma who is unknowingly, yeah. And are there any
And
techniques or
before you answer that,
yeah,
I would like to interject something.
sure.
That Gestalt is on very thin line of where it can be used for coaching as well as for therapy. So how do we stay within the boundaries of coaching using Gestalt?
Absolutely. So the question about unresolved trauma is more about therapy rather than coaching. And so, that would be a different sort of thing where a client goes into. So in terms of coaching, we're not going into the unresolved traumas. So I thank you for pointing that out, Ali, because this is coaching and we're not going into unresolved traumas. And that's a different therapeutic approach altogether. And last question, are there any techniques or to improve? Yeah, absolutely. Body scans are great. There's several sort of things available. Body Keeps the Score is a great book. The body scans are great for you to go through them and seeing what the different sensations are. It's a practice. It takes a period of time. Just sitting and breathing and noticing what's happening in the body. The sort of exercise that I did, it only takes 2-3 minutes, but noticing what's happening on a regular basis. Yeah. So thank you for being here, for listening,
Thank you very
for
much.
taking
Thank
the
you.
hour.
Yes, thank you so much, Aisha, for this great topic. It did add a new learning to our toolkits as coaches. I'm also thankful to ICF Pakistan, Abundance, and Umar Saab for organizing the session. And just as a reminder that we will be having the next session on 27th of March. So thank you everyone for joining and making this learning an experiential and a collaborative space learning. Once again, Aisha, thank you so much for bringing this topic to the table. I think this is right the time that we say goodbye. And before that,
Let me just
yes,
interject. Aisha, it was very well presented,
Thank you,
especially when
Doctor.
you, the circle, each element, you also studied it with the disruptions. That was very nicely put together. Yeah.
Thank you.
yes. So shall we take a picture before we leave the room?
Yes, please. Why not?
Yes.
For this, I think we have to turn on our cameras also, if anyone.
Yes. So as many cameras as we can.
Shabeen takes the picture, I think, regularly if she is there.
Yes, she
I think she's not there.
left, I
Okay.
think.
So you can
So
take it. आप ले रहे हैं?
okay, Gigi Malero.
Okay, thank you.
Just a minute, I
Thank
think.
you.
Thank you, Ji.
Hafiz.
Okay, see you
Eid
next
Allah
Mubarak
time.
to
Hafiz.
everyone.
Thank you, Aisha.
Advance.
Bye-bye.
Hafiz.